can proceed to Subramanian Chidambaran ji, the unique tradition of worshipping Shiva through music, reflections on the Tevaram hymns of Samandar, Appar and Sundara.
Namaskaram to all. I hope all of you can hear me and see my screen as well.
Please make it on slideshow. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to be speaking about the unique tradition of worshipping Shiva through music. Now, worshipping Shiva through music or through a poetical form begins right from the Vedic Suktas and the mantras. You find the Agamas that worship Shiva. Later on, we find in the Itihasas and Puranas that we have mention of various stotras that speak about Shiva. But then comes the era of the Bhakti literature, of the Shaiva Bhakti literature, and there, this Shaiva Bhakti literature originated or has got its source in the south of the country, which is mainly contributed by the three great Mahatmas, Tirujnana Sambandar, Tirunavukarasar or Appar, and Sundaramurti Nayanar. Their contributions in Shaiva Bhakti is unparalleled, and this is what I would be presenting in the next few minutes as to how this Bhakti and what kind of treasure house of information we can gather from their compositions. The compositions of Tirujnana Sambandar are known as Tirukadai Kapu, those of Appar Swamigal are known as Tevaram, and those of Sundaramurti Nayanar are known as Tirupattu. But in general parlance, all the three compositions together are also many times referred to as the Tevaram hymns. What they did, the greatest contribution, of course, in their compositions they have poured a treasure house of information and Shaiva Bhakti. But the biggest contribution is that they went from temple to temple and sang these songs on Parameshwara in each of these temples. And thus they revived or rejuvenated Shaiva Bhakti in the south, which then spread towards the north. That is why these temples where they sang these compositions, they have a special status. They are called as the Padal Petrasthalams. There are 275 temples in the modern day Tamil Nadu and Karnataka and Kerala, which are known as Padal Petrasthalams, which literally means those temples that have received the songs from these great Mahatmas. So I shall be demonstrating these along with the treasure house of information that we get from these songs. Now, if you were to broadly categorize or classify the kind of information that we get in these songs, you have information on the form of Shiva, the various aspects of the form of Shiva, stories related to Shiva that we find in the Puranas and otherwise, the love of Shiva, as Narada says in the Bhakti Sutra, the definition of Bhakti is Satvasmin Parama Prema Rupa. Satvasmin Parama Prema Rupa. So that Parama Prema is what also that we can find in these compositions of these Mahatmas, of the Tevaram hymns. The festivals related to Shiva, which were celebrated in those periods of time in the temples, the various temples of Shiva, mention of these temples, the natural beauty surrounding these temples, all these find mention in the Tevaram hymns. The rituals and various rites and rituals related to Shiva Bhakti and Shiva Puja, mantras related to Shaiva Bhakti, the plea to cure diseases. There are many of the Tevaram hymns which are specifically sung for curing various kinds of ailments, both mental and physical. Musical contribution. I think I need to speak a minute on this. Now, if you look at the Sangeeta Parampara in Bharata, as most of the scholars would have mentioned and many of us would know, that we trace the origin of Sangeeta, which is also known as Gandharva Veda, to the Samaveda. It is one of the Upavedas of Samaveda. Samaveda is definitely an oral tradition that is still living. Beyond that, after that, if you look at Sangeeta as a Shastra, you find various granthas, beginning from the Natya Shastra of Bharata, the Sangeeta Ratnakara of Sharangadeva, Brihadeshi of Matanga Muni, and so on. So you have various Shastra granthas. But if you look at a living tradition of music, beyond the Samaveda, it is very difficult to trace back a very ancient living oral tradition of music. If you look at the modern day classical Carnatic music of the South, you could trace it to a few generations before the Trinity, which is Puthuswami Dikshidhar, Tyagaraja Swami and Shyama Shastri. But if you were to trace before that, it becomes difficult. But the tradition of singing the Tevaram hymns in the temples, in the Shiva temples in Tamil Nadu and Kerala Pradesha, and similarly you also have the singing of the Divya Prabandhams in the Sri Vaishnava Parampara. These have been one of the oldest traditions, oral traditions, live traditions that is still followed till today. So that is one other great significance of these Tevaram hymns, that they are sung even today in the Shiva temples in the original tunes that in which they were composed by these Mahatmas. So even from a musical perspective, the parampara is one of the oldest paramparas, one of the oldest Sangeeta paramparas that we have. That is why my demonstration will involve singing of these Tevaram hymns rather than just reciting them. It speaks about the various devotees of Shiva, the 63 Nayanmars, so the 63 devotees of Shiva that are recognized in the Shaiva parampara in the south. We find mention of those devotees as well in these Tevaram hymns. And experience of Shiva Jnana, or the ultimate liberation or ultimate realization of Shiva in the heart, is also mentioned. So they were all realized beings and expressing their realization through music. So I shall touch upon some of these during my next few minutes. The very first song, or the very first padigam of Tirukஞான Sambandar. தோடுடைய செவியன் விடையேறியோர் தூவெண் மதிசூடி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசிய நுள்ளம் கவர் கள்வன் ஏடுடைய மலராலுனை நான் பணிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த வீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் மேவிய பெம்மானிவனன்றே. This is the form in which it is still recited today in the temples, right? This is the structure and this is the tune. Todudaya Seviyan, the Lord who is wearing the todu. The todu is a ornament, ear ornament worn by the females, but Parameshwara is wearing it because he is standing there as the form of Ardhanari. So he is wearing the female instrument on one of his ears. Vidayeri, he is sitting on the Nandi, the bull, Viday. Or Tuvan Madisudi, he is having the crescent moon on his head. Kadudaya Sudalai Podi Pusi, he is smearing himself with the bhasma of the smashana. The cremation ground bhasma is what he is smearing his entire body with. This is the form of Parameshwara that is described in the very first Tevaram of Tirukஞான Sambandar. I am not going into the stories of Tirukஞான Sambandar, how he sang this. He is said to have sung this padigam at the age of 3, when he had the vision of Parameshwara and Parvati. So you have the form of Shiva described in the same song. The love for Shiva, the 3-year-old child is singing. En ullam kavar kalvan, the one who's the thief. The very first padigam he is referring to Shiva as thief. What is the thief? What did the thief steal? My heart. The thief who stole my heart. Ullam kavar kalvan. Yedudaya malaral unai naan paninda. I am worshipping you with these beautiful flowers, and I beg you to take me, accept me into your feet. In which temple is it sung? Yedudaya Chidambaran Neviya Pemman, Brahmapuram or Sirgali. Brahmapuram is the place, and that is what Sambandar refers here. Brahmapuram, when you say in Tamil, it becomes Chidambaran Neviya Pemman even. Pemman is Perumal, the Parameshwara, the Supreme Ishwara. In the same padigam, the last verse. Paru neriya maraivala muniyagan poikai alarmeya Peru neriya piramapurameniya pemmanivannai Poru neriya manambai tudar Jnana Sambandan உரை செய்த திருநெறிய தமிழ் வல்லவர் தொல்வினை தீர்த்தல் எளிதாமே. The Lord, the Parameshwara, whose Aruneriya Marai refers to the Vedas, who is expert, who is well versed in the Vedas and who is singing the Vedas. See, this is where they bring all the Vedas, Agamas, everything come to a confluence in these songs, the Tevaram hymns of these Mahatmas. Sambandar also mentions that he has realized that Shivajnanam, Oru Neriya Manam Vaitunar Jnana Sambandhan Urai Seida. Jnana Sambandhan has already realized, with a focused mind, he has realized that Shiva inside himself, and now he is telling that, he is communicating that to the devotees, to the people in front, in the language of Tamil. The Tamil is also very clearly mentioned. What happens because of this? Vallavar tolvinai tirthal elidame. It is easier. Elidam. It's so simple to remove the tolvinai, the sorrows and afflictions of various births. You can remove for anybody by singing these hymns itself. So, it is a very unique parampara where even singing of the Lord, the singing these hymns of the Lord is enough, say these Mahatmas, to remove all your afflictions, to remove all your karmas and all your sins. Now we come to another padigam of Jnana Sambandar itself. This is supposed to be one of the last padigams of Jnana Sambandar, which he sings when he is on the day of his marriage. There he says, Kadalagi kashindu kannir malgi ஓதுவார்த்தமை நன்னெறி குய்ப்பது வேதம் நாகிலும் மெய்ப்பொருளாவது நாதல் நாமம் நம சிவாயவே. In this padigam, every stanza ends with Namah Shivayave. So it is called as Namah Shivaya Padigam. It is the padigam where the Panchakshari mantra is explicitly mentioned out here. What does he say? Kadalagi kasindu kannir malgi oduvar tammai nanneri koipadu. Sambandar says, I am in love with this Lord. I am in love with Parameshwara. Kadal means intense love. Kadalagi kasindu, I am so yearning for him. Kannir malgi, I am crying for him. Nannari koipadu, the one who takes me on the right path, on that Shiva, I have so much of love that I am yearning for him and I am crying for him. I am saying this nama, this name of the Lord. What is this name? What is the significance of this name? Vedam Nangilum Meipurulavad. It is the essence of the four Vedas. The four Vedas, in the Yajurveda, in the Rudra Prashna, in the central Anuvaka, Namasomayacha, that Anuvaka comes Namashivayacha. That is referred to by Tirujnana Sambandar in this padigam. And he says, Nadhan Namam Namashivayave. It comes as the essence of the four Vedas. In another padigam of Appar Perumal, this is his first padigam again. This is the padigam which Appar sings to cure his intense stomach pain. And this is the episode which transforms him to become a devotee of the Lord, where he was earlier a Jaina. He was a Jaina guru. He had taken up Jainism. And then an intense chronic stomach pain comes and he is taken by his sister to this temple of Tiruvadigai, and he sings on the Lord here and he is cured miraculously of his stomach pain because on singing of this padigam. கூற்றாயினவாறு வேலகுகிலீர் கொடுமை பல செய்தன நானறியேன் கேற்றாயடிக்கே இரவும் பகலும் பிரியாது வணங்குவன் எப்பொழுதும் தொற்றாதன் வயிற்று நகம் படியே உடரோடு துடகி மூடகிட ஆற்றேனடியேன் அதிகை கெடில விரட்டான துறை அம்மானே. He's describing his chronic stomach pain here, that is, the stomach and the intestines are all in a bad situation, and he prays to the Lord to cure him of this. And this is sung in Tiruvadigai. Tiruvadigai is one of the Virattana Sthalams. In beautiful, in Tamil Nadu you have Atta Virattana Sthalams, which is a modification of Ashta Virasthana Sthalams, the 8 places which represent Shiva in the 8 heroic deeds. The heroic deeds of him having burnt Kamadeva, of him having destroyed the sacrifice of Daksha, of him having killed the various asuras like Gajasura, Tripurantaka, Andhaka, Jalandhara, having removed the head of Brahma. So all these various heroic deeds, and also killing Yama, Kalantaka Murti. So these 8 heroic deeds are represented or worshipped in 8 temples in Tamil Nadu, which are called as Atta Virattana Sthalams, and in each of the Virattana Sthalams you have Padigams sung by these Mahatmas. And here you find the image given of Tiruvadigai, which is the Tripurantaka Murti, the one who killed burnt the Tripura, the 3 forts. That is why you see the Lord with the bow and the arrow. That is what you see in this image.
Subramanian ji, you are still with the Tirujnana Sambandar. Other Mahatmas have to be covered also.
Yes.
And we are actually approaching the time to conclude. Can you just
sure. So I will
in such a way that all the other Mahatmas are also covered within the next 2-3 minutes.
Sure. I'll just directly go to, because we sang about Appar and Jnana Sambandar, I will directly go to Sundaramurti Nayanar. And this is the last Padigam that I will be singing. And the beauty of this Padigam is that in this, Sundaramurti Nayanar records the names of all the 63 Nayanmars. Sundaramurti Nayanar comes much after Tirujnana Sambandar and Appar Peruman, but he records the names of all the 63 Nayanmars, and he says, I am prostrating myself to all these devotees of Parameshwara, not just to Parameshwara. Parameshwara I am already prostrating myself, but even the devotees of Parameshwara are extremely high in my heart, and I prostrate to all of them. This is called as Thirutondar Togai, and this Padigam is very important because this acted as the source for Sekiyar Peruman to write the Periya Puranam, which describes the stories of all the 63 Nayanmars. Those names and the details Sekiyar Peruman could get because of this Padigam, where all these names are chronicled or documented, right? Tillai vaazhandanatham adiyarkum adiyen Tirunila kandathu உழவனார் கடியேனில்லையே என்னாத இயற்பகைக்கும் அடியேன் இளையான்றன் குடிமாறன் அடியார்க்கும் அடியேன். It goes on like this. Adiyarkum adiyen. Adiyar is the servants of Parameshwara. Adiyarkum adiyen. I am the servant of those servants. And he begins with Tillaivar Andanar, the 3000 Andanars, or the 3000 the Pandits, or the Brahmins who came with Parameshwara from Kailasa into Tillai, into Chidambaran, right? So those 3000 Pandits, Mahatmas are the starting point. From them I start, because they regard Nataraja as one of the 3000. Nataraja is no different from them. Those 3000 Mahatmas, they regard Nataraja as one among them. So from there I start, and then I go on to all the Mahatmas, all the devotees of Ishvara, and I am prostrating in front of all of them. So he makes this beautiful thing. The last part is, I mentioned about the musical contributions. There are various ragas in today's classical music which you find the source in the Padigams, which did not exist before them. And the first time, there is one raga called Madhyamavati, which many of you who know music would be knowing. This, the predecessor of Madhyamavati is a Pan called Senduruti. They are called as Pans. Padigams, they are not called ragas, they are called Pans. So Senduruti, that was the first time Sundaramurti Nayanar invented this Pan, and he sings a Padigam called Meela Adimai. He is again prostrating in front of the Lord, and he is surrendering everything to the Lord. So this Padigam is in that Pan Senduruti, and this is becomes a source for the raga Madhyamavati. So this is just a drop in the ocean that I am sharing with all of you. I did not know where to stop, but more of these details I will be providing in the paper that I will be submitting, so all of you can take benefit of that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. These papers, I think, need an audio association also, apart from just the textual material that you are providing. Your singing was highly enriching, and if you can add the audio part also to the paper, I think, because this is Indica Today is going to be an online version, online magazine, our Yogini ji can provide a link to the audio or video
Sure.
throughout, so that the readers of your paper will be able to understand the way we are able to understand now through your very audio enriched presentation. And it was a learning for me also. Natai Padai or Kausikam or this Kolli and Kolli Kauvanam, all these ragams that you were presenting, and I was also able to understand how Natai got that preeminence. Also, probably that was the most predominant of all the ragams.
Correct.
The most probably of the padais were in Natai. So, Adi Natai and Ante Surati, that probably the tradition also came from this tradition of preeminence of Natai in that. And actually, is there a book already on connecting the present Carnatic ragams to the traditional singing, either in Shaivism or Vaishnavism, or any of these temple traditions, Subramanian?
Yes, Nagaraji, there are many scholars who have been studying this particular connection between the punts and the modern day ragas. So actually, there are certain Oduars who typically sing these in temples, right? They themselves are experts in classical music today, and they have also been able to do this very well because they have got this singing from their parampara, and they try to match in terms of saying what of this corresponds to the modern day ragas. So many of these existing researches are there. I can share that with the larger group as well.
Yeah, in the paper, if you can share the
Yes.
publications on this, that will be highly helpful. And one doubt any researcher will get is, if the Oduvar is already influenced by Carnatic music, the traditional singing style could be influenced by the contemporary Carnatic music also. So
Yes.
the best way is to go to the village Odivars who are not exposed to Carnatic music at all. Then the comparison will be really robust. That comparison will be really more profitable for a researcher.
Absolutely, Nagaraji, you are hitting on a very right point, and that is also the sad state of some of these things, right? That you try to bring it to the ragam that you know, and you try to draw that parallel, which is also why, if you look at in some of these websites, 2 or 3 punts will have the same Carnatic raga mentioned, which is a bit of a problem. So you know that there are 3 punts given 3 different names, but the Carnatic raga is the same. That means you know that there is some problem somewhere. So some people have tried to make it the same. So yeah,
In villages might help us with senior Oduvars who
yes,
are not so much influenced by Carnatic ragas. That might
yes.
help us to understand. But this was really a learning for all of us. Thank you very much.